Okay, go ahead.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the In Raw Life podcast. We are going to talk about one of our favorite subjects, work-life balance. We want to dive into why, like what it's done for us and admit like it's not always easy. I want to start out by saying work-life balance, it doesn't just happen. It's not magically landed in your lap. It's not, I could have it if I had this job or if I had this situation. It takes work. It takes understanding how to achieve it. And so we want to help you have like a better understanding of what that entails and then what it is that you get at the end of all of the work life balancing. But before we dive into all of it, Jess, why don't you tell them how they can stay more connected?
Perfect person to say that right now.
Why?
Pregnancy brain and everything is just like, whew.
That's funny.
We would love if you, our listeners, whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time listener, rate, review, subscribe, wherever it is that you're listening or watching, whether it is the podcast or on YouTube or even in our Work-Life Balance for Empowered Unstoppable Women Facebook group. Give us some love in there so that the other group members know to show up and listen to this episode. We absolutely love having you guys sticking around and listening and watching. And the more we get from you guys, the more we know that we're doing what you want, and we'll put more out there and our community can grow and our reach can grow so we can help more people.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get started, I have to say you are glowing. Is it pregnancy or are you in the sun? Like I can't tell. Or is it a mix of both?
I mean, there's sunshine on my face.
But I mean,
from,
like you're
over there.
You look like so tan and
someone else that I spoke to this morning. I had a Zoom call this morning with someone from work, and she was like, "I have to ask you, have you got a tan?" And I said, "I have not really been out in the sun at least a couple of weeks, just because busyness." So
that's so funny. Yeah, you have the darker, you just got it is working, girl. That baby boy.
I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm just starting to get like the pregnancy face. I'm not enjoying that.
You look beautiful. So only you can see it. And that's for sure. So that actually, when I was saying that, it made me think we're just finishing up our series on self-care, which was a 9-week series. And we haven't done a reality check in a really long time. So maybe we should do a reality check to jump into this episode. I feel like that'll help our conversation too.
Reality check is a lot going on, which really plays into work-life balance because I'm still able to do all the things to the best of my ability while being 34 weeks pregnant, and my dog might be about to bark. So obviously I'm coming to you from a kitchen. And the reason for that is because I recently purchased and moved into my own home, which is super exciting. But doing that at 33 weeks pregnant means I'm not quite my typical Jessica get shit done, because I know that I can't physically do it all like as quickly as usual. So I've got that going on. So like what we often teach, like the visual clutter, the overwhelm of lots of things going on, it's not stopping me from doing what I need to do as far as work, as far as showing up for the podcast, as far as like being a mom and taking care of myself, but it's definitely affecting me, like having things not in their place, of course. So it makes me feel a little more tired. Plus, I just get the added benefit of, end of pregnancy tiredness. And apparently I'm anemic with this pregnancy, which is adding to my exhaustion. And I have to go do something about it. And I have to make a million calls just to get it to happen, which is a little extra exhausting too. So that's my reality check. Like there's just a lot of things that are helping me, that are trying to stop me, I guess you could say, like, because it's making me so tired. But I am still accomplishing. And the reason why I'm accomplishing these things is because of practices that we teach all the time. And I can talk about that more in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Hey, Emmy.
5 bunny ears. Okay, you can sit and be quiet, or you can take it somewhere else. A chair,
Yeah,
not a toot.
that's funny. So my reality is, oh, I had it and then I just lost it. I'm hungry right now. I should have eaten. I just
Oh no, hungry
chiropractor.
Sierra.
I know. These are the most interesting. I just came from the chiropractor and I'm super excited because I've been wanting to find a good chiropractor in this area. And I finally found an amazing one. And because I've gone to her now, I can go rock climbing again. I was having a hard time, like I was feeling sore every time I went rock climbing, and now I'm not. So I am back to climbing and I'm so excited. I can like work out again, which I had to.
Oh, yay.
After the first time I went rock climbing, I haven't really been able to work out since. And so that was like in January. So I've gone rock climbing since, and then I would just suffer for a couple of weeks afterwards. And now I'm not. So I'm like kind of high on life. I have been, which we'll talk about in the work-life balance of things. I have been working really hard, but I've been doing it in 4 days. So Fridays are like my chill day, which is what it just kind of has been working out that way. And I'm like, the first Friday, I didn't know what to do with myself. And now I'm like, okay, like I got this. I can go to the chiropractor. I can go get my nails done. Like I've got this day to do what I want, what I like, stuff for the house and stuff for me, which is really cool. So
nice.
Yeah. So it's Friday, so I'm feeling good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of the whole work-life balance thing, like actually putting it into practice is, at least for me, is something that we've taught about so much in the past and continue to, is having a plan. Like I have so many moving pieces right now. If I didn't write things down in one central place and have that plan in place that I can go off of. And of course, things get moved around. I'm like, oh, I didn't actually get to that today, but I know that it's okay because it's not like high priority and it can move. But having all of that stuff in place is how my daughter still has food on the table to eat, because I actually bought the food and have the time to make it. Or she and I still spend, a certain amount of time every day together. Or I actually still go to bed at a decent time and wake up at a decent time and like get my new house in order in some sort of way and still get work done. So having that plan is always like the fallback, just like we've said before from Atomic Habits book, is like you fall back. What is it? You rise.
You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Yeah. So I'm falling to the level of my systems right now, which are really great systems I've had in place, so that when life is super crazy, millions of things going on like this right now, the systems I'm falling back on are great to keep everything going smoothly.
Yeah. And that can go for home life and work life. Like you have to have plans all throughout. So like I said, like I've been super busy at work and we're kind of exploring this new thing. So it's a ton of learning. It's all new processes, and like we're constantly shifting our processes. So it's like I gotta stay on my toes. And it can get like this week, I was at one point, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. And I'm like PMSing this week too. So I was like, oh, I'm not doing it well, but I'm doing fine. I just was being really hard on myself. And I'm like, you know what? This is like, I'm trying to juggle all of this new information with like trainings I'm learning, the plans we've talked about on calls, and then my own stuff that I just have to do every week. I'm like, okay, so much to do. I'm just going to make an SOP. And the funny thing is that usually like we get to this place where we're like, oh, we should make an SOP for that so that somebody else can understand it when we need to teach them. And this is like the first time I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm making an SOP for myself so that I can, and in case you're not like in
most
corporate America, SOP is standard operating procedure. So like making the plan of how to proceed, how to go forward. By making like, it takes time, right? It probably took me 20 minutes of an already packed schedule that I needed. Like I had other things I could have definitely done, but by simply mapping it out, I put it in a Google Doc. I made it check boxes instead of bullet points so I could check things off as I go through. And I mapped it all out. So that way, whenever I go back to it, which I'm going to have to go back to it, I can like go through and I already have it planned out. So then I don't have to, it takes less mental work. So you have more space to do and you can do more in less time. So then you have more time for you. Sounded like I did a little poem there. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, or even just when like yesterday afternoon, I was starting to get a little overwhelmed with, okay, I need to remember, like I made that call, but I still need to follow up on it and some other things. So I literally just then write another little like brain dump list in my planner on that day and make sure I'm really good at labeling things and checking things off that don't need more attention so that I can stay on top of my stuff. So I know what needs to happen, where, when, what has happened, notes on things, but it's all in one place too. So it can't get lost. Like right now, my house is easy for things to get lost in because there's boxes and stuff everywhere, but I have all of my mental stuff, which on a good day, not pregnant would be a lot of things. Pregnant, super need to keep all of my mental things in one area and be able to remember them, like write them down. Or I'll even like, if I'm upstairs, I'm not near my planner, I'll email myself or add it to my Google calendars as a reminder for whatever day I need to do it. So it doesn't like flit away and get forgotten.
I know for all the, I'm gonna start that over. And for all of the perfectionists out there, I know that like sometimes you think, okay, I'm going to write down this list, but I need to make sure that I have it all, right? And like you'll be sitting there, you're like, I know I'm forgetting something. I know I'm forgetting something. That's the beauty of having the list in one place is you get to come back to the list when it pops into your head. So like when I wrote that SOP, I'm like, there is no way in heck that I'm going to be able to write down every detail in this moment. But when a new detail comes to me, I can go back to and be like, oh yeah, I forgot to add that. And it's fine. Like it doesn't have to be, your list doesn't have to be perfect. Your list is growing and shifting and shaping to what you need it to be. So you can keep track of it in one spot and one spot only.
Yeah. So I know another thing that you were mentioning to me before we started recording was not even just having things in place and knowing what you're doing, but being able to vocalize that and communicate it to other people.
Yes. Yeah. Boundaries are so freaking huge in order to have a work-life balance because without them, you're going to be all work, no balance, no life, no nothing, like just so stressful. So I'll give you a good example with all this new stuff that I'm doing for work. The first week it was like, okay, like I took it all on because I was excited about it, right? I'm like, yes, I want to show them I can do this, whatever. And I worked so hard that week. Jessica's like, you're busting your butt way too hard. I'm like, I know, but it'll be worth it. And it was like, it was just a 1 week thing. I made it happen. I'm proud of myself. But the next week I'm like, oh, this is going to continue if I don't do something about it, right? So what I did is I had a conversation with my boss and I was like, there's a lot more on my plate now. I don't have time to be crazy like I did last week. What is actually on my plate? Like, what do you want? What are you expecting from me? And so he gave me 3 areas that I needed to focus on, right? It was Facebook, emails, and project management. 3 specific. So it's 3 specific things that I have a very clear idea of like what the scope of each of those things are. And then this week on our, we had a group marketing call, and on it, my boss asked if I could take care of something that had to do with video editing. And I'm like, ooh, bing, bing, bing. I have 3 things that doesn't fall in that. Because I was clear and asked, like I defined the scope of my responsibilities, I was able to say, nope, sorry, I don't have time for that. Because I don't have time for that. I don't have time for some of the things that are my responsibilities, but I will make those happen because they're in my responsibilities. But I'm not going to take on something that's not in my scope. So that was like so empowering. One of my other friends who was like encouraging me to set to define my scope. He's like, you did it. You stuck to your scope. And I was like, I did. Thank you. Like, I was so excited about it. So I really think it's just clarity, having clarity.
Yeah.
Because then you get the freedom to say, nope, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that, with no backlash.
Yeah. And another thing, like devil's advocate, that is if something like that comes up, you've already defined things, you've already set your boundaries, but you're like, you think to yourself, I could, like, I wouldn't mind doing that. And I could take on this one project. You let them know, oh, yes, I can actually do that this week. I do have time for that this week.
Mhm.
But making it clear still, it's not an always thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you do, yeah, you have to be very, I feel like you have to be so clear with that, because then it's like, oh, well, you did it this once. Can't you just
Mhm.
do it again?
Yeah, just like
And then,
answering your phone after 8 p.m. if that's not your typical and that's not what you want to be doing, you can let them know, hey, I happen to be working right now. Yes, I'm happy to answer. Or sometimes, like, what you can really just do is like if you've already set the boundary that I don't work after 8 p.m. and they try to send you a message and you might be like emailing for whatever reason, but they send you like, you don't have to answer the message until you're back in your work hours. And it's
yeah.
okay. There's no life or death situation.
Mm-mm. And I think so boundaries exist in the workplace and they also exist in the house. So we talked about having a clear space and how important that is. So if that's like, if your house, if clutter definitely, I mean, clutter affects all of us, but like if that's your biggest stressor, then set up a time to clear the clutter every night. But if you're the kind of person who will start the clutter, like start like decluttering the, just the stuff from the day, and then that leads to cleaning out the closet, which leads to cleaning out the basement, which leads to project after project. You have to set boundaries for yourself too. So like my mother-in-law as a kid, or when my not when she was a kid, when my husband was a kid, and he was like, if he was doing anything after 9 o'clock, she would say to him, like, nope, it's 9 o'clock. You're clocked out for the day. You can, whatever you think you need to get done tonight, you can handle it tomorrow. And so one day she was doing the dishes at like 9:30 and he came in and he's like, it's after 9. You're done for the day. And
Nice.
she was so grateful for that. So like they had a rule in the house. It was just the two of them. And the rule was nothing, like we're not doing anything after 9 o'clock. If you want something to be done, get it done before 9. And then after that, we're chill. We're going to relax and enjoy each other. And actually it kind of bites me in the butt a little bit because I like really 9 o'clock is my power hour. I'm like cleaning the kitchen and getting it all done. So he's like, why are we not chilling? I'm like, the kitchen is a mess.
Because
if you clean the
that's not
kitchen
what
before
works
9.
for me though.
Yes. So, but
And that's
yeah,
okay.
like, so have your boundaries and like create your own boundaries for yourself too. And one of the best things that I have heard recently, I think I heard it pretty recently and it's helped me so much, is when you set something for yourself, when you give yourself a boundary or a target or something, that's not like a goal that you don't know how it'll turn out. Like, if you're trying to reach an income goal, like that's beyond your control. But if you're trying to reach a goal of like not eating sugar, totally in your control, right? So for every goal that you have control over, every time you don't stick to what you're like, you don't stick to your word, you lose faith in yourself, which makes you stop hitting all of the next goals. So like decide here today and now that whatever your next goal is going to be, you're going to actually meet it. So that way you start to have faith in yourself and you keep showing up for yourself, because when you hit that first goal, the next goal, you're like, oh, well, I have to do it. Like I'm a person who fulfills my word. I stick to my word. I keep my promises even to myself. And so like, even if you have a history of not keeping your own promises to yourself, you can change it right now and start today and start being like, nope, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say like whatever boundary I set, I'm sticking to it from here on out, and like start fresh. And then be empowered every time you do that. Like put a little win in your win bucket. Like, yes, I stuck to my boundary. I stuck to my goal. Power to the people.
And then when, it's been a while, or if there's something in life that changes or work that changes or whatever it is, you're allowed to look back at all of it and change. Like you're allowed to change your boundaries if it's not working for you, to be more strict or less strict or whatever it is. You're allowed to decide new things in different parts, whether it's been a week, whether it's been months, whether it's been years. Life changes. So it's okay to go with that. And then again, you have those systems that you put into place around boundaries, about work-life balance, about plans, geez, that you can then reuse again with new situations.
Yeah, that is so true. It's so funny. A few people lately Like I've just heard different, like from different people that like I feel like there's two kinds of people in the world. The people who are like, I don't want to watch TV. I only want to fuel my mind. Like I want to be always like moving and growing and blah, blah, blah. And then there's the kind of people in the world. Well, I guess there's three. Then there's the kind of people who are like, TV is a must in my life. And then there's the people in between who are like, TV is my me time. I need that in order to like reset. I just need to like not think. I need to just sit and reset. And I used to be the first kind, like the person was like, no, I don't have time for TV. There's too much life to live. And then I had children. And now I'm like, my God, if I don't just need 1 hour of sitting, three,
Oh yeah. I'm number 3.
you're number three in what I said. I was like, 3 children? No, I only have 2. You only have 2. I'm confused.
I have a dog, so I have 3 children.
Okay, then I have a dog and 2 cats, so that gives me 5.
I know. According to Emmeline, yeah.
I don't think the other ones need nearly as much attention as the first 2, and sometimes the husband, but anyway.
Oh, my dog definitely needs the same amount of attention.
Anyway, so sitting and watching TV, it's like like on Sundays, that's what I need. I've been thinking all week. My brain has been constantly going.
Mhm.
When I'm not working, I'm handling the conversations of everyone, the emotions of everyone from age 2 to age 67. My dad's here now. So, I've got a lot of emotions in this house. So when I get a minute to myself, I'm going to take it. I'm going to watch Suits or The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I'm just going to stop thinking about life for a few minutes. And it really rejuvenates me.
Yeah, even just yesterday, I was like, okay, I have been on the phone for the past like 3 hours between stuff for house and stuff for medical and back and forth. And I was like, that alone exhausted me because I can't I'm not getting good enough answers.
Yeah.
And I can't even think about these things that I need to do for work because I'm tapped out. I'm exhausted. So I sat down on the couch and put my feet up. I turned to Emmeline and I was like, you want to watch our show? Or because I'm watching TV either way right now. I just need one show to chill. So we watched our show together and I got to zone out. And sometimes if it's not that or Emmeline's not around or I don't feel like in the TV mood, I'll play a game on my phone for 20 minutes just because I like my mind to be allowed to keep focusing on something, but it's not something that I have to really make happen, I guess. I mean, I guess playing a game, it's a little more thinking, which I also like, but it's still just step back, turn all the other things off for just a little bit so that I can reset. And then I come back to it ready to take care of whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the first time I did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Because I used to feel guilty. If I'm on a Sunday afternoon, if I'm just going to go escape for an hour, oh, I'm sure there's laundry to fold somewhere, that's not allowed. But the first time I did it, I assumed I'd fall asleep. I didn't even fall asleep. I just watched an hour and a half of TV, something like that. And when I came down, I was rejuvenated as if I had napped, which I was mind blowing to me. I did not ever expect that to happen because I used to be always on the go, always having to get stuff done. There's no time to waste, but actually taking an hour and a half of veg time was really helpful, which is just crazy. And now I see younger people saying oh, no time for TV, no time for breaks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I disagree. Just wait till you have kids or wait till you're in your 30s and that will all change.
Yeah, I used to be in the opposite, any extra time I just sit down and watch TV because that was kind of how we were brought up. TV was just there. And now I'm I hardly people are oh, you should watch this, you should watch that. I'm I hardly watch TV. But when I take my time, sometimes
I watch TV. So I wanted to get into where we're at now because of our work-life balance, but because we're already at the 25-minute mark, I feel like we could just cover that next week. You want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's do that.
Stay tuned.
Well, in that case, woohoo! Yeah, stay tuned next week for us to talk about our best selves in our work-life balance life. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for continuing to show up, continuing to support us. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. That shows us immense support too. And then, of course, the Facebook group link is in the show notes.
Yeah, until next week, make sure that you are taking a little bit of time for yourself. Make sure you're setting those boundaries. We have tons of past episodes that really dive into these ideas as well that you can go listen to. And stay tuned till next week.